And one of the players last night had a coach reach out to him and very seriously get on the phone and do a game day visit on a phone call, not like a blast email. Can I get on a call, get on the call and do a game, because of a post on social media that the kid put. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how you get in front of coaches.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £5,700 myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I, I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
This is Richie Contartesi with the Football Scholarship Podcast, alongside my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Overton, who has 15 years of Division I college football recruiting experience. And today we're going to be talking about junior days. What are they? How do they work? When do they happen? How do you handle them? How do you get the most out of them? How do you turn them into offers? How do you turn them into relationships with coaches? Everything junior days, because it's coming up. It's going to be that time of the year. You're going to be getting junior day invites, and it's really important to understand what to do, how to handle them, and most importantly, how to use them to your advantage in the recruiting process to ultimately turn them into relationships and offers. So, Brian, let's jump right into junior days. What is a junior day, and when do they typically happen?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to tell everyone about junior days is that's the official title that everybody uses. And obviously this is for underclassmen, obviously.
Yeah.
But the junior day is the title that everybody uses. You do not have to be a junior to attend.
Ooh,
so there are plenty of sophomores, and I mean, you can really attend all the way down to a freshman. Now, there's not a ton of that. But there is a lot of sophomores that get invited to junior days, okay? So I just want everybody to understand that is just the title. There's not a rule saying that you have to be a junior to go. That is a huge misconception a lot of times. Now, it depends on the level sometimes of who they want to invite and how many. We can get into that later, but I just want everybody to know that's what it's called. But you do not necessarily have to be a rising junior or a current junior to attend. So, but what they're used for is, so it's basically an unofficial visit, but it's not surrounded by a game day. So that's what makes it different from a game day visit. So it's after football season's over with. Some people try to do a few of them right after the first of the year. That's a pretty big time for them. And there's a couple reasons they do that. One, your football season's over with. They know everybody's done. If you were in the playoffs or even if you had a state championship run, they know for a fact that your season's over with, so they can get more guys there. And the other reason is they try to maybe center it. A lot of schools try to center it around something going on campus, like a basketball game that they can take you to see the crowd and the environment, and just something cool to do. So they're usually a one-day event. They're not overnight. It's usually just a Saturday on the weekend. And again, they usually try to center it around a basketball game or something. Some people don't. There's usually some sort of meal involved, whether depending on how early they want to start. So they'll probably offer you a meal of some sort, whether it's breakfast or lunch. But the goal of it really is to just get you there, see the facilities, meet the coaches. They're trying to tell you about their program, and then vice versa. It's a great opportunity for you to get on their campus, meet the coach face-to-face, keep building relationships with them, get all your questions answered about the program. How do they handle this? What kind of support do they have academically, nutrition, see the weight room, meet the strength coach and all the support staff that's involved in the football program. So it's a big information gathering visit, and it's really, really good for those guys that, especially on schools you're really interested in and you have had some communication with, which we'll get into in a second on how, to determine which ones to go to. But that's kind of what they are and what they're used for. You know, they're for both parties to get to know each other, and obviously the school is inviting you to get to know you face to face and be around your parents and be around you as a person, but also show off what they have to offer. You know, should they get really serious about it and want to offer you a scholarship. Some guys get invited to junior day because teams like to offer in person. So sometimes they invite you to get you there with your parents. Now that's usually in a case where they've had some communication pretty heavy already, and they just want to get you on campus, you know, to actually offer you in person. So there's a lot of things you can get out of it. They're an integral tool now in recruiting for both sides, to be honest with you, for the school and the parents and the families.
But they don't count as official visits.
Correct. It's totally an unofficial visit.
Because you could take official visits. You have unlimited official visits, but only one
to each school. Correct.
So this is game days are unofficial. These are unofficial. Unofficial, just so everyone's aware, you pay for your own travel, you pay for your own food.
Right.
Etc.
Yeah, this is considered an unofficial visit, which you can have as many of these as you want to every school. You know?
Yeah, you can go unofficially as many times as you want.
So you can go to a game, you can go to a junior day, you can go back. I mean, you can go back as much.
Why do they call it a junior day if it's not just for juniors?
Well, I think it's typically. I think it started, you know, when people actually started calling it that. It was because the rules were much different, and you know the recruiting classes weren't stretched out quite as far as they are now. And again, it depends on the divisions. Obviously, the top of college football and the Power 4 guys, you know, they're working, you know, multiple classes at the time, all the time, basically. So they're working a year out or more sometimes. And the further you go, like G5, FCS, then it's more centered on like that class, you know. So, but I think it turned into what it is now because of that, you know. And that's more, again, at the top of college football where they'll invite really young kids. But it doesn't hurt those other divisions to do the same thing, you know what I mean? Because it's unofficial, you know what I mean? Because they're not paying, you know, the kids have to pay their own way. So, you know, it costs them nothing to invite them and try to get them on campus. So why would you just limit it to juniors, you know? They just never change the name.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's obviously targeted at those guys because they're the next guys up.
That's the class.
But if they have an opportunity to get a sophomore they really like on campus, they're going to invite him.
Yeah.
You know?
So if I go, like, so what are the typical ways that you guys send invites, and how would one know whether it's a legit invite or, I mean, because at the end of the day, they're also spraying and praying, right? They're like, we're going to invite as many guys as we can because we only know 30% are going to show up, are going to be able to come, right? So
it's a little. I'll answer your question here, but it's a little different than camp in that, you know, when you get these mass camp emails, obviously you have to pay to go to camp. You see what I'm saying? So some people are trying to make money off of camp. You know, that makes it a little bit different than a junior day because obviously they're not making any money on you coming to junior day. So it is a little more strategic, you know what I mean, in who they invite. Now, having said that, how I coach our guys, you know, to navigate that process is still very similar to camp. You know what I mean? Because there is a cost to you as a parent, you know, and as a family, because you have to travel, you know, on your own expenses to get to the school. So I tell them to treat it very much like camp in that, you know, how much conversation have you actually had with that school, you know, and a coach there? You know, had they seen your tape, you know, and have you gotten any feedback on your tape? So it's really the depth of the conversation that you've had with them, you know, and are you interested in that school, and do you feel like there has been at least genuine conversation and interest in you where you are willing to spend the money to go see their school and, you know, experience the junior day and get to know them and get the most, you know, bang for your buck out of the invite.
Yeah, so whether it's a camp invite or a junior day invite, I get the difference in like the paying. So it's going to be if you get an invite, it's a little bit more,
targeted,
but it's still not, you know, it's still not a phone call for an official visit, right? Like that's that's the you know, if we were to put tiers, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, we've done podcasts and videos on how to handle camp invites, and this is essentially the same thing, right?
Yes.
If you get a game day invite, the response should be, have you had a
junior
chance
day
to watch,
invite, you mean?
excuse me, junior day invite. Have you had a chance to watch my game film?
Absolutely.
And from there, it's cool. Jump on a call. I want to learn more about the program. Make sure it's essential fit.
Same protocol.
Same protocol. Yeah.
Because, you know, again, you want again, you're having to still use expenses to get there. You know what I mean? So you don't want to, just get a random invite. Now, I will say junior days are a little different in the aspect too, is typically, most of the time that's going to come more so, from a coach, and when I say from a coach, not just a recruiting blast email, kind of like the camps look like. Sometimes they have the software just blasted out, to all the 26s or 27s, stuff like that. They can't really afford to do that because, like I said, they have to be a little more targeted because say they did invite 150 guys and you're at a program where you just can't handle 150 guys if they all decided to show up, they have to be a little more targeted. So, but again, that helps you because, like I said, if you get one, for two reasons it helps you. Because if you get one from a coach that you have been in communication with for a decent amount of time and they invite you, they're probably, you can feel like they're pretty serious about you. If you get one from a coach that you have never heard from, or have very limited communicate, maybe once or twice, that then opens the door to ask them the same questions. Well, Coach, have you watched my tape? You know what I mean? Can you hop on the phone with me? You know what I mean? Talk about it. Love to learn more about the junior day. You know what I mean? Can you send me an itinerary? We're going to have time to sit down and visit with you. You know what I mean? Because you always want to try to find out if you're going to have time to sit down and visit with the coach. You know what I mean? While you're there.
Right.
Same thing we teach them at a camp.
I mean, dude, I can't tell you how many players I've talked to, and they're like, yeah, so, I went to the junior day, and I'm like, cool. So how did you meet with the coach? Did you have a meeting? Did you talk? And they're like, yeah, they talked to the whole group. Yeah. And then, we went to another thing, and there was another coach that did a group, and then we high-fived and left. And it's like, well, you didn't get any. The opportunity is the relationship. The opportunity is shaking the hand and having the conversations and the things that we teach on this podcast and on my YouTube channel. If you haven't, you should go check out my YouTube channel where we teach things like what to say, how to say it, when you're on these type of visits, to build relationships to coaches, to get them to understand your value because you're selling yourself and you're doing it, yes, in a humble way, but you got to be able to do those things. And it's tough. Like, I remember being a kid and like being in with coaches and being like, I do not want to go up and talk to this coach. I do not want to do it. I do not. But like having to say to yourself, do I want to run out of the tunnel on Saturday? Yes. I need to go walk up and introduce myself to this coach, right? Will it be uncomfortable? Yes. Is it way easier to just walk away right now? Yes. But you can't. You got to go do it. You got to go have those tough conversations. And what gets you good at doing those tough conversations is, one, knowing what to say, and two, role playing and practicing what you're going to say over and over again, the questions you're going to ask, how you're going to tell your story, how you're going to sell yourself. That's what gives you the confidence to be able to walk up to a coach and not have any fear because you know how you're going to answer their questions. You know the questions you're going to ask to get them to like you. You know that you're going to tell your story in a way and sell yourself in a way that they're going to like you, right? Yeah. And that's why it's so important to do that.
Yeah, and the whole process of trying to get them on the phone, and kind of talk to them about the opportunity in the school and things like that too is, and people can dispute this if they want, but I'm just telling you, the question about, am I going to have some time to sit down with you? And I'm not talking about, it's great if this happens, guys, but I'm not talking about like 30, 45 minutes sometimes, they may not have time to do
5-10 minutes.
But if that happens, that's outstanding, right? And that does happen. Or it could be longer than that.
But
what I am saying is, a lot of times you can gauge the interest level pretty clearly in how open they are to sitting down with you and having a conversation with you while you're there, just you and them, no matter how long it is, really.
Yeah, you get an invite and you reach back out to them. Thank you so much for the invite. Have you had a chance to watch my game film? And they don't respond to you and you follow up with them, which you should be. They don't respond, you follow up, no response, and they just completely are ghosting you. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For the most part. Then from there, let's say, they've watched it, they're still interested, but they have no interest in connecting with you or talking to you or having anything to really do with you. Again, you kind of have an idea of
right.
where you're at, and you can make a decision based on like how far is the travel, how bad do I want to go to this school. You know, there's context matters in making your decision. And then also the third tier of that is like they've watched your video, they decided that they want to talk to you, and then from there it's like, okay, cool. Are they willing to meet with you?
Yeah, right. Because I mean, it sounds very elementary, but obviously if they're willing to meet with you, you know what I mean, and spend some time with you, they probably know at least a decent amount about you, you know what I mean? They probably watched your tape, you know, in some form or fashion, and like it enough that they would be willing to sit down and talk to you. And the whole goal is, again, in a lot of the things we do, is to, you know, put the responsibility in the coach's lap. You know what I mean? You want to try to make them show their hand as much as you possibly can, which helps you make your decision.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just not a lot of people that are, you know, to your point, willing to do that. And there's certain ways you can do it without, you know, being a jerk about it or disrespectful. There's certain ways you can ask certain questions. And then, again, this is from many years of being on the other side of it.
Yeah.
You know, that puts it right in their lap where it's hard to get away from. Like, you know, there's certain ways you can ask things where they got to be pretty direct with you in what their intent is. You know,
and that's what you're looking for.
They can kind of give you some of the answers to the test.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's what you're looking for. Asking the tough questions to really get down to like the intent. Where am I? What does it look like? So let me talk about the other side of the table, because this is something that I'm very interested in. How do college coaches make the decision on who they're going to invite?
Yeah, that's a good question. So again, for junior day, it's much different than camp or anything else, or even sometimes a game day invite. Because remember the difference, and for context, what I'm gonna say is, what you have to understand is the difference between even a game day, like when you go to a game on campus and you're going to a game day invite, and a junior day, right? They can really afford to invite a ton of guys to the game day visit, because remember, coaches have I don't want to call it an excuse, but it is an out. They have the out of, if you ask those questions, well, the game's going on, you know, I got to, you know, coach my team.
Yeah.
You know, you have a lot of outs
focus out
with a game day visit.
Yeah.
At a junior day, you don't, because they have nothing to do but that junior day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to your point, like, how do they decide, you know, who to invite? Like I said, it varies by division, but for the most part, that's why you ask, have they watched your tape and things like that, because most of the time that is what determines who they offer invites to, you know, for junior day. Because they, like I said before, they have seen maybe at least enough of your tape where they're interested, where they want to get you in front of them, get to know who you are, you know, and sell their self in the event they want to eventually offer you to try to get you. Or they have gotten your name from somewhere, or have been tracking you some form or fashion, and may not have seen your tape or, you know, contacted you directly, but you've ended up on a list of some sort. You may not be on their board, but you have landed on some sort of list, maybe from the area coach, right? That's why we do the whole area coach outreach and things like that, because the area coach may have brought your name back from his area of a guy. Hey, I don't know much about him. He says this in the staff meeting, you know, hey, I don't know much about Richie yet, you know, but the coach gave me his name. I saw him, you know, run around a little bit at practice.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good, but I don't know a ton about him. He may be a good guy to get to junior day, like to get to know him and let's watch his tape before he comes type situation.
Right.
You know, so that's typically how the names come up, you know, for junior day. And that's why I say it is.
Outreach.
Yeah, it is a little more targeted in that way, typically.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, how names pop up and why it's so important that you do what we teach when it comes to posting and when it comes to outreach. Guys, like, we had a guy, one of our players last night, we do a group session a couple times a week, and one of the players last night had a coach reach out to him and very seriously get on the phone and do a game day visit on a phone call, not like a blast email. Can I get on a call, get on the call and do a game, because of a post on social media that the kid put. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
like that's where to share what you're saying, like, that's how you get in front of coaches. Again, we're not talking about the SEC, right? That's a different batch. Right. We're talking about all the other, just, you take out the Big Ten and the SEC. I mean, because we've got to be realistic, right? With those guys, like they don't got to sell themselves. They don't got to pitch. They don't have to. It's just a different world, right? So at junior days, it's interesting, the different dynamic between junior day and camps, how you guys look at inviting, and most importantly, how you as a parent and an athlete can learn the intent of that school, right? If it's just a blast email versus a blast email and they've watched your tape, or a blast email, they've watched your tape and they'll get on a call. Blast email, watch your tape, get on a call, and meet with you at the game day. Like, so many different levels of intent to help you make a decision and decide if this is something that you want to do.
Yeah, and it is I will say, having said that, if all those criteria match and you go to the school and you attend a junior, it is in my opinion, it is a critical piece of the process. Again, because that is the one, that is the one scenario throughout the process, throughout the year, like through the recruiting calendar, for the most part, where like that's all they have going on.
Right.
Like, is at junior day. Even camp's different because you're coaching all these kids, you're running around, there's 100 things going on. At junior day, they're there in their slacks, their polo, it's all business.
It's a great opportunity.
And that's what they're locked in on.
Yeah.
Like, is those guys there and what's going on that day. You know what I mean? So it is a huge piece of the recruiting process on both sides, but specifically for you guys as parents and athletes, again, to get in front of those coaches. And you're just remember this now, you need to evaluate them as much as they're evaluating you.
Right.
Okay, you need to use that to your advantage. And that's what it's for, is to get in front of those coaches, again, find out the resources, get the personality of the coaches, see the facility, see the campus, get the academic presentation, all those things. It's just a bunch of valuable information you can get on those visits to help you kind of move yourself along in the recruiting process and either add or eliminate schools along the way too.
Yeah, no, it's super, super awesome, super valuable. And also hearing both sides of the table, right? Like how our college coach is thinking about it, and as a parent and athlete, what you can do to put yourself in the best position. So is there anything else you want to share before we?
No, I think we covered it all. Again, I would just finish up with, be intentional is what I would say, about where you go and why you're going, for a lot of reasons. And if you're going to go, be prepared, do the stuff on the front end that can make the visit even better. You know what I mean? Really communicate with that coach ahead of time. So when you get there, you can really get the most out of that visit. Because again, it's a big part of the process, if you handle it correctly and do it correctly. So.
Awesome. Well, look, if you got value from this video and this podcast and you want to watch more podcasts just like it, if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification. And if wherever you listen to your podcast, if you could leave us a quick review and share your thoughts, that would be very valuable for us and help us to continue to release more and more great podcasts. Luckily, we have Brian here in Vegas, so we get to do it in person, which is always really fun. And if you're watching this and you've seen our other podcasts, our brand new office and studio, we're super excited about that. And this couldn't have happened without all of you. So we just want to say thank you to all of you for continuing to watch the podcast, continuing to support us on YouTube and on social media. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.